Before I start, I want to take a quick second to address our leaders. The so-called black leaders are now unconscious due to the fact that they have sold black America out. And every time you turn around, they sending you emails to go and vote Democrat like they give a damn about you. Democrats and Republicans ain't got no power. The President of the United States don't have any power. And on any given day, you got a nerve to go and march on something that's being controlled by another force of power. I'm talking to you, black leaders. Your people are sleepwalking, and for a couple of dollars and a cheap damn dinner with the governor, you have allowed your minds to transform into a savage mentality. But I warn you in the name of Allah that your days are numbered, and if you continue to bring war on God's people, He will bring something on this nation that He has never brought on any nation in the history of time. Now, on to what I came to speak about. Today, I will put forward a high level of knowledge that some of you may not understand. And because you may not understand this or understand my words, it does not mean that you are non-intelligent to what you do not see. It's just that you have been taught to love another person's ways and life of history and to hate the truth of your very own self. And all of this in which I just spoke, I will prove it through the educational system, the religious system, and the political system. I have not or cannot find or create the words to describe how beautiful God shows Himself in His creation and through words. Brothers and sisters, as children of God, if you are not connected to Him in a submissive way with a proficient act of doing His will, then there is nothing in this world that can interfere with the power He has made sufficient to you, so that you can overcome the same obstacles that Jesus Christ had to overcome when He faced the government and the kings throughout His journey for God. You see, God is not one who divides, for division is an imbalance of equality. And furthermore, an act of mental enslavement to those who are being trampled upon, but these are His people. God did not create niggers, Negroes, nor black people, or whites for that matter, for this is only a replica title property created by the so-called white man. You can take it or leave it. Now, if we look very closely at our educational system, we are taught from the very beginning that the so-called black man has no history and is of no importance to human life. And so therefore we are taught to follow and to love the history of another culture. A culture that was never civilized, but civilized by the original or the Asiatic man of noble history. For an example, we are taught that George Washington and Abraham Lincoln were good men. But these were men who were of high ranks, not spiritually, but worldly. There's a difference. These were men who were slave owners of a certain group of people who were, and still to this day, are considered 3/5 of humans in their constitution. They teach you that George Washington loved all humanity. But yet and still, he did not have white slaves, so therefore there was a division in interest in his love for all people. But do the educational system teach you that he also had ties with people who hung the so-called black men and women from a tree? He was incoherent with Catholics, the same Catholic order who obtained financial profits by hanging pregnant black women on a tree to see who would live longer, the baby or the mother. And this was the same order of Catholics that founded Christianity, which was given to our people to worship as an image that today they themselves do not even believe existed. Bill Clinton wasn't the only one portrayed as being black. You all know what I'm talking about. Abraham Lincoln was also portrayed as the president of black people, for the abolition of slavery. But the question is, did he really abolish slavery for the purposes of the black people? You see, the Emancipation Proclamation during Abraham's War brought in 200,000 black men. He was not fighting for the liberation or the interests of black people. He abolished slavery for the sole purposes of his war, in which many so-called black people were slaughtered for nothing, and at the same time winning a war for the same people who could not bring victory to their own stolen turf. And so they say, let's enlist these niggas into our military so that they may bring victory under our initiation. You see how evil they think? But America has always been an initiator of wars that were either unjust or unbalanced. It was like they were throwing rocks and running behind the same people that they were abusing. Christopher Columbus. This individual has been painted as a man who sailed the earth, a good citizen, discovering a new world order. But the educational system does not tell you that he was the first one who practiced genocide against his own people and others. How can these be men of goodwill? This man, Christopher Columbus, created a Holocaust in which killed 4 million people alone. And on December the 6th, 1492, Christopher Columbus, a man that was given a holiday for us to worship, he was set out to Haiti on a venture to hunt down Taino Indians, in whom they beat, raped, robbed, and killed, and used their bodies as games and food. But this is the history that they teach you to love. These are the people that they want you to worship, while all along you are denying yourselves and who God really has placed you here to be. The so-called black man is the most important tool in history in carrying out God's will. You can take it or leave it. You, the so-called black men and women, are not the real killers or murderers or rapists or gamblers in society. You are the original people and the rejected stones of the world, in which you will find hiding in every religious doctrine and Masonic blueprint that there is. No, this is no debate, and no great scholar can deny this in which I speak, for if so, I am willing to stand against any great scholar under the power of God, Allah, truth. Who are we? Who are we? In order to answer this question, one must go back into history to define not only the history of himself, but the history of his oppressors. We know that our people have been slaves physically, and from this physical slavery, we fell into a form of mental slavery, and still some physical today. I want to just shift to law for a minute, if you will. I want to just talk about the 13th Amendment. Do you know that this 13th Amendment is a power of control that legalizes slavery for those who are duly convicted of crimes in the United States of America? But why was Saddam Hussein a victim under our laws? This is something for you to think about. I won't go into that today, but the 13th Amendment, to this day, these legal powers are exercised to also maintain population control by the species to Congress, or to protect the best interests of America, or what they call it, against muzzle-minded sleeping giants in her midst. Study that now. The ex-slaves were actually re-enslaved. Listen to this. The ex-slaves were re-enslaved a while after, under the assumable jurisdiction of Congress 3 years after the abolishment of slavery. So now you have to ask yourself, was slavery really even abolished? They don't tell you this, but whenever you are convicted of a crime or become a convicted felon, You then enter into an illegal alien status within your own country, which some say we are already before we are convicted. That's why when you are released from prison, it is hard to obtain a job or even to be approved for housing. You see, this nation has been so hypocritical in its moral values and their own religion of forgiveness. They preach forgiveness but practices injustice. This nation is so God-fearing but yet has the worst human rights system in the world. They are controlling you, brothers and sisters, and you don't even know it because you are so caught up with denying yourselves and killing one another with a weapon that is manufactured by your own enemy. And because of that, you have become a form of genocide in your own society. Take it or leave it.